When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb?" When they looked up and saw that the stone, which was very large, had already been rolled back. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe, sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. But he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. Look, there is the place they laid him. But go, tell the disciples and Peter that he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you." So they went out and fled from the tomb, for terror and amazement had seized them. And they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid.
I've been using Matthew's gospel throughout Holy Week. But on this most unique Easter Sunday of my life, and almost certainly yours as well, I had to switch to Mark's gospel. This version of the resurrection has resonated in my ministry like no other, and somehow more so this year than any. It ends not with joy and certainty, but with terror and amazement. They said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. That's how the Gospel of Mark originally ended. And people apparently disliked it so much that someone or someone's tacked on not one, but two additional endings for Mark to correct originally ending in fear. But that might be a mistake. Mark's gospel, you see, is incredibly urgent throughout its telling. Mark's favorite word is apparently immediately. And the Spirit immediately drove Jesus into the wilderness. Immediately they left their nets and followed him. Immediately the leprosy left him, and he was made clean. Immediately her hemorrhage stopped. Immediately Jesus spoke to them and said, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." Which brings us back to being afraid. The gospel ends with a critical question. Who will tell the story of the good news of the risen Christ, of love winning the day? One obviously knows that the brave women at the tomb that Easter morning overcame their original fears and told the disciples and Peter. But the critical question voiced by the gospel's ending still remains. Who now will tell the story of the good news of the risen Christ, of love winning the day? I posted an excerpt earlier this week on our Facebook page from Casey Cairns, who writes on Ezra Rising. Her whole poem is called Resurrection in a Time of Pandemic. Maybe this year we celebrate Easter differently. Not with a big service, not with the lights and the full band, not with the newest songs about Jesus conquering the grave, not with a big party, not with the ham, the egg hunt, the wine, and the fellowship, not with the dresses, not with the suits, not with the perfect hair and the annual family photos. Maybe this year we celebrate Easter differently. Maybe we gather with only the closest of our family in our homes. We watch from afar. We wait. We pray. Some of us hide, hoping the faith outweighs the fear. Maybe we hear from God, see God in the place we never thought we would on Easter Sunday, in our own homes. Maybe for once we celebrate Easter differently. Maybe we celebrate the resurrection just as the disciples did, alone in the silence, hoping the faith outweighs the fear. Who will tell the story of the good news of the risen Christ, of love winning the day? Will the faith outweigh the fear? Presiding Bishop Michael Curry shared this with the world through the Washington Post. On a Sunday a couple thousand years ago, it didn't look like Easter either. The stench of death was in the air. No lilies, no bunnies, no new clothes, just a brutal execution by the Emperor of Rome of one who taught and lived love. It was Mary Magdalene and some of the other female disciples of Jesus who got up early that Sunday. They went to the tomb where Jesus had been buried just a few days before. You can't change the fact of death, but you can love through it. So they went to do what love does. They went to give Jesus a proper burial, to anoint his body with fragrant oils, and make sure he was in a clean linen burial shroud. When they arrived, nothing was as it was supposed to be. The large stone that had been placed over the entrance to the rock-hewn tomb had been moved. The body of Jesus was gone. They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him, blurted out Mary Magdalene. She was the first to witness to Easter, but she didn't know it was Easter. Only later would she discover that the empty tomb was a sign of hope. Jesus was alive. Today it doesn't look or feel like Easter for us either. But maybe our empty churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, and other places of worship, and even stadiums and stores and coffee shops are actually signs of hope. Maybe love is winning again. Love for neighbor that is strong enough to sacrifice our important gatherings. Love that gives up our cherished celebrations to save lives. The lives of other children of God whom we don't even know. Maybe these empty places are, in fact, a reminder that, though it doesn't look like it, it is Easter anyway. Bishop Michael Curry. Who will tell the story of the good news of the risen Christ, of love winning the day? I believe I will. I believe you will. Because I believe it's God's will that love will still win the day. Blessed be the name of God,